Hello and welcome to another theme build video. I am Sphinx SDO and I've been playing Star Trek Online for many years, and now I have started to dive into making theme builds. And today I will be showing the legendary Constitution Miracle Worker Light Cruiser. That's a mouthful. I have two builds on this ship for two different visual options mostly. One is trying to resemble the weapons and layout from the original series. The other one is an approximation of what it could have looked like in the Wrath of Khan or the motion picture. This is a fully functional build in every way, but it is not a record-breaking build, nor is it using too many special traits or duty officers or consoles. So this is mostly about the looks, but as always I have tried to make sure that all my builds are capable of doing TFOs on advanced difficulty without too much trouble. And the way I test that is to go on a patrol on Elite against the K-Zone in Argala. So first out, let's take a look at the original series setup, as I would call it. So on this ship we have 7 phaser beams and a torpedo launcher coming from the fleet store in K-13. These can also be re-engineered further to more enhance the damage output, but I think they're doing fine the way they sit at the moment. Usually I go for the colony deflector, but I slotted the competitive deflector by mistake, and then the engine. So I have a two-piece with the engine and the deflector, and we have the warp core and the shield from the Discovery Reputation. We have a full set of vulnerability locators from the Fleet Spire, 4 of them there, and another one in one of the universal slots. And since this is X upgraded, we have a second universal slot, and in there I put the M6 computer, which comes from the Temporal Escort Tier 3 fed ship that you can get for dilithium in your local shipyard. We also have the Protomatter Field Projector to keep me alive. It's from the Lokari event ship. Then we have 2 lobby consoles that I almost always use. Bioneural infusion circuits and tachyokinetic converter. And we also have the assimilated module for a bit more crits. And then I have 2 consoles that are account unlocked for me, and that's the Domino that gives me phaser damage, which works really well on this ship. And also a bit of other good bonuses. And I also have the Timeline Stabilizer, gives me some cooldown on Science Bridge Officer abilities. And a bit of firing cycle haste. And then the console that comes with this ship, the Ominous device, gives me more damage and a whole lot of other nifty little things. On the stations I'm using a very normal beam fire at will torpedo spread setup that I would use, and also aux to bat with cooldown technicians. And since we have Miracle Worker stations, of course we will be using narrow sensor bands and mixed armament synergy. Fire at Wheel 3, Attack by the Beta 1, Tactical Team, Chemosite 1 and Torpedo Spread 2. We also have emergency power to weapons, of course, and emergency power to engines. And lastly we have Science Team and Structural Analysis. I sometimes swap out Science Team for hazard emitters if I'm fighting the Borg, because that's nice against those plasma fires. Just gonna look at the starship traits, and that's Entwined Tactical Matrices from the Gagarin. Emergency Weapon Cycle, that comes from the Arbiter. Supercharged Weapons, which I think is from one of the Tier 6 Odysseys. Then we have Overpowered and Overgunned. The Best Diplomat, and both of these are from the legendary 10th anniversary pack. And lastly, a rather cheap starship trait you can get off the exchange sheets on board Dilithium Recrystallizer. Basically gives me more power into the subsystem that is lowest. And before we look at the other configuration I have on the ship, of course we have to take a look at this legendary bridge. And here we have the beautiful constitutional refit with the Type 0 hull material. And the other visual change is of course that we have replaced the weapons with different phasers and a different torpedo, and I also swapped out one console. So now we are using the pulse phasers, which comes from the undiscovered lockbox. We have 6 BRAs and an Omni, just because I had it on a different character and I just transferred it over. These can be quite expensive though, so maybe not for everyone. Then we have for torpedo, I chose to go with the Terran Task Force Photon Torpedo Launcher, which is a nice heavy hitting torpedo. And I chose to go with the 2-piece with the console, so I get a little bit of maximum hit points increase, I get weapon power, auxiliary power, and also torpedo cooldown. Other than that, it is more or less the same ship and the same build. So before we go into combat, if you want to see more of what I do, you can subscribe to this channel of course. You can also find me on Twitch, where I stream Star Trek Online every week, and some other games as well. And if you're really interested, you can also join my Discord, which is linked down below.
Entered an area controlled by the Fenton Guard. Looks like our fight got them to notice us. Let's go over and ask if their saws might come out of hiding. got this. Excellent work. We'll send over a pacification party to take the suspect into custody. Thank you for your assistance. The K's on. We have the suspect